Well, you heard us talking earlier about trying too hard from outside the vortex. And you are really, really a good example of wanting something so much that everything about the way you feel is about how hard it is, and about how much you want it and yet how hard it is, and how much you want it and yet how hard it is. And so Jerry has been having some discussions recently because they know a few people, and of course there's a lot of it in the news these days of people who are losing things that are important to them, losing businesses, losing jobs, losing houses, losing their financial footing. And Jerry has asked the question over the years, why is it that people have to lose it all? It's like first the boat and then the car and then the other car and then the house. And why is it that they have to lose everything before they bounce back? Because he did notice that they always bounce back. But why did so much have to go before it began to bounce back? And we explain that it is because as long as there is still something to lose, there is a struggle and a clinging and a angst and a discord in vibration that's not letting it begin to bounce back first. So that's where you are. In other words, that's where you are. It's time for you to just let go and acknowledge that in all of that struggle, you've put all kinds of things into your vortex, and your vortex is always alive and always active and always aware of you and always calling you. And it's time for you to just sort of surrender to it, not giving up your dream and not giving up what you want, but giving up the struggle which is working against you. Have you ever heard a better example of a struggle that's working against someone? In other words, your desire is so powerful, it's almost tangible in the air. Your desire is so powerful. And that kind of desire will bring big, big results. But you gotta chill. You gotta ease up. You gotta not try so hard. You gotta trust. You gotta begin saying things. Jerry has been saying from the day Esther met him, and he says it every day. You'll hardly ever meet anyone. Maybe there is no one on the planet who has a more wonderful life than the two of them. And every day, Jerry says, and was saying for years, everything is always working out for me. Even when things were not working out that well for him. He tells the story. He was in show business, in a town. The agent kept promising him something that didn't come. He bought a case of macaroni hamburger stuff that was in cans, and in the morning he ate 1/3 of the can, and at lunchtime he ate 1/3 of the can, and at dinner he ate 1/3 of the can. In other words, he has not always had the evidence of it, but he never let go of the knowledge that things were always working out for him. He knew he would get the new job before he was at the end of his cans. And what we are wanting you to realize is that it's always that way. You all have defined, you don't know it, but you have defined how much suffering you're willing to endure. You all have your standards, you see. And we would like you to find a new standard that I'm not willing to endure any suffering, and then to accept that 100% of your suffering is self-inflicted, because it's a mind game.
Yes.
It's not about reality. It's about how you choose to face reality. In other words, it's always easy to look at how others are living and say, oh, things are working out better for them, but you can't compare what's happening out there in the manifested world. You can only compare what's happening between you and your vortex, and your emotions are giving you all of that. So this sales job that we're giving you here, we want you to know your vortex, or at least know that we know it. We want you to receive from us our unequivocal knowledge of what is waiting for you in the vortex. And when you say, has my vortex run out? Is there nothing more in my vibrational escrow? We want to laugh to the boundaries of this boundaryless universe, because we have never seen more in a vortex ever than what you have put there. It's time for you to make claim. And the way you do it is by trusting rather than working, by trusting rather than trying, by hoping rather than worrying, by just reaching for optimism where you can find it, by speaking more optimistic words, by plugging your ears or taking off your bionic ears when you're hearing things that work against you. In other words, by insisting that you say things that feel good, by remembering that things are working out for you, by feeling appreciation for the struggle that you've lived, because the struggle is what's put all of this magnificent stuff in your vortex, by planning in advance your speeches to whoever will listen about how far you have come so fast, by recognizing that well-being is yours to claim right now, that you don't have to wait years. It's just a matter, as we said earlier, of a few hours of deliberately practicing a vibration of positive expectation. That really is what it is about. Well, it's hard to know where to go for you, because we have said to you everything in the world that you have become and everything in the world that you want is in your vortex. And you say, Abraham, please give me a reason to go in there. Can't you call me in an exciting new way? It's not enough for me to know that everything I want and everything I am is in there. Give me another reason. Do you believe that the vortex exists? The new fresh thing that you're reaching for is, we want you to accept that you're often in and make a decision that you're going to catch yourself in there, and you're going to milk it just a little longer when you find yourself there. In other words, there's a powerful tool in recognizing that you are in and then just relaxing and staying there longer. Now, what often happens is you realize you're there and you say, oh, I'm there, I hope I stay. Out you go. Because you're aware that you're often not in. But if you'll just make an effort to be aware of when your heart is singing a little more, when you're dancing a little more, all kinds of things will happen, because the universe knows how much you want to be in there, because your inner being and everything that is important to you is in there. So there are far more opportunities to hold you in there and show you wonderful things than you are giving yourself credit for. We want to give you a little piece of understanding about something. Sometimes it sounds to you like we're talking about two cut and dried world, in the vortex and out of the vortex, and in the vortex being non-physical and out of the vortex being physical. And those are not the distinctions that we're making at all, because you can be in the vortex and physical, meaning you can be in the vortex and manifesting things, because the only difference between what humans call physical or manifested and non-physical is that there's stuff that is manifesting. So we want you to understand that if you can separate these two concepts as vibrational concepts, in the vortex feels better, out of the vortex doesn't feel so good. In the vortex, higher vibration, out of the vortex, lower vibration. In the vortex, no resistance, only allowing. Out of the vortex, plenty of resistance, not allowing. So you're thinking about vibration relative to all of this. Then you begin saying, and this is the thing that we want you to understand, if you can get into the vortex for no reason, in other words, I'm going there because it feels good, period. I'm not going there for a Range Rover. I'm not going there for more money. I'm not going there for a lover. I don't have ulterior motives that are the reason that I'm going there. Because if you've got ulterior motives as the reason that you're going there, the ulterior motive that isn't yet satisfied, that isn't yet manifested, you're just practicing the absence of it. If you say, I'm going to go to the vortex, so here's how it goes. Oh, there's a vortex over there. I know. I think I'll go in. Why? I'm going to go into the vortex so that I can get my lover who isn't here. And out you go. I'm going to go into the vortex. I'm going into the vortex. I'm going into the vortex. I'm going into the vortex so I can find money that isn't here. So the reason that we want you to go into the vortex, I'm going to the vortex because it feels good. I'm going to the vortex because it feels good. I'm going to the vortex because it feels good. I'm going to the vortex because my heart sings there. I'm going to the vortex because I'm happy there. I'm going to the vortex for emotional reasons. I'm going to the vortex because I breathe more deeply there. I'm going to the vortex because I feel more clear-minded there. I'm going to the vortex. I'm going to the vortex for emotional reasons. I'm going to the vortex for emotional reasons. If you will go for emotional reasons, you'll get in and you'll hang around a little longer. And here's the thing that we so want you to hear. We almost shouldn't tell you, but we will. If you hang around in this vortex for the emotional reason that we're describing, stuff's going to start manifesting for you inside the vortex. You're going to be in the vortex with a Range Rover. You're going to be in the vortex with more money. You see what we're getting at? Because it is right that things materialize for you, but things that you want can't materialize for you if you're blocking them with your unworthiness. Now, doesn't the word unworthiness sound different than it did before?
Feels different.
Unworthy is not something that someone else can pronounce you. Unworthy is just something that you do to yourself because you refuse to go into the vortex. Or you go for the wrong reason and it spits you right out. So here's some questions to make this more poignant. Can you take an active, throbbing, lackful vibration into the vortex?
No.
If you did, what would happen? It'd spit you right out. Why? Because the frequencies don't match up. So there are two things that we're giving you here that are fresh and new. One is, you're just going to stumble into the vortex not even knowing how you got there. Accept that. And two, you're going to practice being there longer when you find yourself there. Because whatever thought that you're focused upon is your way of practicing your vibration. And if you practice the vibration inside the vortex, pretty soon you're going to get the hang of it. Do you know people that are so sure of their financial stability that you can't make them worry about money? Do you know anybody like that?
Yes.
You say, yeah, well, they inherited a fortune. Of course, that's the way they feel. But separate whatever reason you've assigned. In other words, there's this tendency to say, well, yeah, they feel that way because of that they have, which I don't have. And we say, that's arguing for your limitations, and that's arguing for being outside the vortex. What we want you to start doing is arguing for being in the vortex. Sort of like we said to our friend, only ask the question to which you know you will receive an answer from someone in the vortex. Be very playful about it. We can feel that you are often in the vortex. We also can feel that you've been working very hard to get into the vortex. And we think this conversation is good for everyone because we're talking about vibration here, not action, which means we're talking about focus now, not glasses. Can you feel the distinction? We're talking about choosing the thought for the emotional content and practicing it long enough that the emotional content becomes the habit. And once you do that, then money just follows you everywhere you go. You can hardly stop the abundance of money that's flowing into your experience. Do you believe that? So we have some questions. Do you believe that you are a vibrational being?
Yes.
Do you believe in the validity of this vortex that we talk about all the time?
Yes.
Do you believe that you can feel when you're in and when you're out?
Yes.
Do you believe that you have the ability to choose a thought that makes it easier to stay in?
Yes.
Do you believe that you could take any thought and change it enough to get into the vortex? That's good. That's good. That's good, because that's exactly what we're reaching for. You don't believe that, and the reason you don't believe that is because it's a very hard thing to do. It's a very hard thing to do, to take a thought and move it into an entirely different place. It's really, really, really a hard thing to do. So now we'll start asking you some questions again. Do you believe in the existence of the vortex?
Yes.
Do you believe that sometimes you're just in there and you don't even know how you got there?
Yes.
Do you believe that you can feel the difference between being in there and not in there?
Yes.
Do you believe that once in there, it would be sort of easy to stay longer?
Yes.
Do you believe it's easier to find yourself in there and stay longer, or to know you're not in and get in?
Find myself in and stay longer.
So that's the fresh new thing you're reaching for. Play with it. It will really serve you well.